You know, one of the precious rights that we have afforded to us in the amendments is the First Amendment. Are you familiar with what that right is? I mean, there are many that we're supposed to be protected under. That first right, First Amendment right, is the freedom of what? Speech. The freedom of choice and assembly. Peaceful assembly. Freedom. Are you free today, ladies and gentlemen? Are you really, really, really free? Do you even know what freedom is? Ask yourself that question. Have you ever asked yourself that question? Are you free? I don't want to get off on a tangent of slavery per se. I'm talking about all of us. We know the history, the horrible, dark history of America as it relates to slavery. There has been slavery across the planet for that matter. But we specifically who live here in America know about the atrocities of slavery that we, as black people and African Americans, if you will, have endured or had been made to endure on this land, and to a great degree continue to endure. It's just simply been repackaged. But all of you that are watching me right now, white, black, Asian, Indian, whatever your nationality, whatever your culture, if you're living in America, ask yourself this: are you free? Can you travel anywhere that you want to in America, unhindered, uninhibited? Can you shop anywhere you want to in America, uninhibited? Can you go to any natural lake or river, cast your line, and catch a fish uninhibited? That includes the ocean. Or are there rules? So there's an individual, there's a man a few years ago I watched online. He was arrested because he was fishing without a license. And when he came into the courtroom, he was espousing his constitutional rights. And the judge wanted him to pay a fine for him fishing without a license. And the gist of it was this, coming from him, when the judge asked him why was he fishing without a license, he said, "Why do I need a license to fish when that's part of God's earth? I was fishing because I was hungry and I wanted to feed myself. So why do I need to pay someone for a license to fish to feed myself?" Now, I want to take that just for a moment and ask you this: does an eagle need a license to fly over a river and snatch a fish out? Does a bear need a license to grab a fish and eat it? A grizzly? Do any animal in nature need permission and a license to feed themselves? Why is it that we have to have a license to eat from the land? Is this complex to you? I'm just trying to get you to think. So, when this man made the statement to the judge, he made and actually it was a valid point. I'm feeding myself. So, I understand, as long as we have been on this earth, from a child to an adult, we have been faced with rules, regulations, ordinances, stipulations, statutes, and so-called laws. All of these things were created for a purpose, but are they all lawful? Or are they just simply ways of bringing in revenue to locales, to cities, counties, and states? So I ask the question again, are we free? Do you need a license to protect your family from a possible mugger, an attacker, if someone came into your home even to rob you, or if you're on your way to your garage to get in your car and someone were to rob you? Do you need permission to have a firearm to protect yourself and or your family? Do you need permission to carry a firearm on your person concealed if you've never done any harm to anyone in the past and you have no so-called police record? Why is it that you need permission from someone else to do what nature said is an automatic? Why do you need permission to sell your own property at a yard sale outside of your home in your own driveway? Why do you have to pay the city for you to sell what's yours? Why must they get a portion in the form of revenue, some type of revenue, taxes, fees, or whatever, for you doing something that should be common to man? If my neighbor wanted, let's say, a lawnmower, and I had 3 lawnmowers in my home, and I said, well, I'll sell you one. He said, oh, sure, I'll pay you X amount of dollars for it. Why does any third party have to be involved in that? And that conversation is between he and I. So, you see where I'm going with this? We don't need third parties involved in every aspect of our lives. You should be able to get in your automobile, or your conveyance, if you will, and travel down the road uninhibited. You should be able to not put your seatbelt on if you choose not to do so, because it's supposed to be your vehicle or conveyance. It's you. How can some third party tell you to wear your shoulder strap in your vehicle when it's you in there? They don't tell you not to smoke. That's dangerous to your health as well. So you're saying you're trying to protect me from myself in the event that I have a car incident or an accident, that you're protecting me by telling me that I must wear a seatbelt harness. And if I don't, you're going to penalize me money. But if you saw me smoking on the street or smoking in my car, you're not going to pull up and say, oh, no, that's not good for your health. You could potentially get cancer from that. So we're going to have to give you a ticket for that. You're not going to do that. You're not going to stop me if I go to the liquor store and buy a fifth of rum or a bottle of Chardonnay, or some beer, a case of beer, and I could potentially become impaired and sloppy drunk and do some things that I would not ordinarily do and maybe harm someone. Maybe even get in the vehicle and drive down the road drinking. You're not going to stop me from doing that. And of course, alcohol can cause that to happen. You're not going to write me a ticket and say, don't do that, are you? You know why? It's money in that. It's money in that for the city. It's money in that for the state. Dare you not touch that? It's money in the tobacco industry. You're not going to stop me from doing that, buying that. But you are going to stop me from driving down the street without a seatbelt on and say, oh, this is for your protection. Really? So, the question again, are you free? Now, can you just make a reservation to go to Mexico, to go to Europe, to go to Asia, to go to the Middle East without having a passport, without having someone run your record, so to speak, to see if you are eligible to even go? Who is this third party that has to approve you, a so-called free man or woman? They have to approve you before you can leave this country. I thought God created the earth. I thought that the Almighty, the Most High, gave this earth to all of us as human beings to share. When did anyone have the exclusive right to tell you that you don't have any rights and that they are going to give you privileges? And if you don't follow the rules, they're going to take those privileges away. But you don't have any rights. Question again, are you free? Are you really free? Can you come outside of your home anytime you want to and just stand and look at the sky without a police car just driving by, looking at you and stop and wonder why you're standing there? Or can you stand in the supermarket, come outside the door, run into an old classmate and you're standing there outside and you just shopped there and you're standing there, or standing in the parking lot at your vehicle talking to an old high school friend without that same possibility of a police vehicle driving by looking at you? Oh, something suspicious there, you're not supposed to do that. Can you drive down or travel down the highway or any roadway for that matter and not be looked at a certain way by a police cruiser and not feel uncomfortable? Do you feel uncomfortable when you're driving down the street and a police vehicle comes right up beside you at a stoplight, or they're sitting right behind you? You see, people of color feel a certain way because people of color, when I say people of color, I'm talking about so-called African Americans and blacks. You see, when you look at the history of the abuse that these people have had to endure, it's no wonder why they feel uncomfortable in the presence of the law. It's not because they've done anything wrong. It is because they have developed a stigma and an insecurity being around those individuals because of what they have done in time past to us. Rodney King, who else? Freddie Gray, Tamir Rice, Laquan McDonald, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Eric Garner, Timothy Thomas, and the list goes on. And Sandra Bland is another one. And while you are thinking that I'm only talking about black folks, there was a gentleman that was killed that was a white gentleman, Daniel Shaver, about 26, 27 years old, by another white cop, begging for his life in a hotel, crawling down the hall. The police officer, along with at least two other ones, had automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons pointing at him. He had no weapons. They shot and killed that man in cold blood. He was a white man. So for those of you who think that I'm just talking about, the protection of blacks and, African Americans, and I'm on this, we are people too, and all lives and black lives matter. No, everybody matters. I just wanted to point that out because I was incensed when I heard about Daniel Shaver and when I saw the video. It was horrible. And the very fact that that man walked, that police officer was not prosecuted. And he said he would do it all over again if he had to, because he was protecting the lives of the guys that was with him. Shaver was unarmed. And I'll leave it at that. So, you know what I'm saying. I hope you do. This might seem like I'm just ranting on for no reason at all. But again, as I said earlier, I just want to get you to think. Is there anything in America, in your daily life, that sometimes you get an unction to do? You feel emboldened and courageous about doing, and you have to stop and pump the brakes for a moment and say, well, I can't do that because someone might say something, or I might be stopped, or this might be a regulation that I'm breaking. Are you really free? Let me tell you this, another thing. I have to point this out. You know what a contract is, right? And this is from personal experience. This is what I know to be fact. I remember, but before I say that, let me say this. A contract is a binding agreement between two or more parties, at least two. Let's say this is one and this is the other. If you want to enter into an agreement, both parties have to agree for the contract to be valid. You cannot have one party that says that this is the way it is and you will succumb or you will follow the way it is. That's called a unilateral contract. It is not legal. It is not lawful. But most of our judicial system, our banking system also, and most of our governmental system works on a unilateral basis, which means what I say go, and you just simply follow. And they used fear and intimidation to get you to sign contracts. And they won't sign contracts a lot of times, depending on what it is, because it will make them liable if there were any future lawsuit or disagreements. So they make you sign to make you liable only. that's probably another topic or subject as well. But what I was going to say before I prefaced what I was going to say with that was this. I was at a bank and I was talking to the manager of the bank about opening a particular account. And I saw the contract or the paperwork, and it had stipulations on it there. And one of the stipulations were that if I owed a debt to someone, they could have a court order and seize my property that the bank had. I didn't agree with that. So I drew a line through it, and legally and lawfully, you can draw a line to anything on a contract that you disagree with, and the other party must agree with you, and then you can both sign off on it. Did you not know that there were a couple items on that contract that I disagreed with, and I drew a line through them and I initialed it, and I told the manager, and he said, well, we can't accept that the way you did that. Actually, he told a lie. He actually could accept that, but that's not the policy. It's not the way business is conducted in their institution. You see, you can't use common sense and common law in a system that doesn't acknowledge common sense and common law. They only acknowledge corporate policy. They only acknowledge that which is going to benefit them and not you. Just wanted you to think about that as well. I'm going to leave now, but I'm going to ask you the question again. Can you do virtually anything that you want to do in American society? Now, of course, we know that that does not include harming someone or taking someone or destroying someone's property. Let's exclude that. Things that are lawful, even lawful by God. Are we allowed to do all of those things without being interfered with? Hello. So, we have lakes that are natural lakes. We have ponds that are natural ponds. We have rivers that are natural rivers. And we have oceans that are natural oceans. Can you just jump off in any of those bodies of water and just take a swim without being interfered with by someone else telling you that the state says this, the federal government says this, the county says this, if you're not bothering anyone? So, are you free? And if so, how free are you really? Tell me, tell us in the comment section below, what freedoms do you believe that you don't have that we all should have? Also, let us know if you have ever exercised what you believe to be your freedom and someone tried to take it away from you. We would like to know. This is Brother Teacher. I thank you for taking the time out of your day, out of your evening, wherever you might be, to listen to me. And I hope that this was of some thought-provoking strength to you. I hope that you benefited from it. I hope that you can read between the lines, because I have a tendency to speak very philosophical oftentimes. It's just simply who I am. It's the way I do things. It's not something I think to do. It's just the way it is. But if you have any questions, and if I am not clear enough for you, please let me know, and I will try to make it right. Have a great day, a great evening, and I'll see you in the next video. So long.